tight walking in.
Not quiet.
Walking into it. Jeez.
I think so, I guess convincing win in the end, but they did make it work for us, especially in the first half.
Yeah, we weren't surprised by that because we'd seen their form coming in, obviously off of a win, and what they'd done, at least for the first half, for a number of weeks prior to that, they'd really brought pressure, and we knew coming in they'd talked a lot about the pressure that they were going to bring, and they did. And we probably invited a fair bit of that in the first half. We needed that break at half-time just to regroup and get back to what is predictable footy for us. So it was a good result for us to be able to get ourselves back after what was a really disappointing first half.
So any, I guess, stern words or easily spray or anything from that for you? How do you kind of rev them up in a way?
No, there wasn't a need for stern words because it was a good contest up until that point. It was just we were playing the wrong way. We were playing a game that isn't a game that we play. And so when you're unpredictable to your teammates, it makes it really hard. We had a half-forward line in the first half that couldn't get a touch. Josh Rosselli and Ben Keys, but it wasn't their fault. It was a lack of predictability from us and our game plan and our ball use, which took away our game. We played the game in the wrong area. We weren't able to play front of centre, and we flicked the switch at half-time and went back to predictable footy, and third quarter, all of a sudden things started going our way. You make your own luck. So I think it's a really good game for us to learn from. In the end, a great result. If you said, we'll give you a 10-goal win, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, it's a great result for us.
Did any of the stuff in the first, did that come down to any potential complacency? I think because obviously, West Coast down the bottom of the ladder, everyone's expecting you to win. Any complacency or any risk?
No, I don't think that's the right term. I don't think that's what it was. I think it's maybe just a little bit of our focus had gone away from what makes us a good side. So to be able to fix that in-game is a great result. In previous years, it might be one where you see 4 quarters of the same and we come out maybe with a small win or we lose the game of footy. So, there's a lot of positive to come out of today. But as a coach, I do sit here probably a little excited about the fact that we're still going to learn something from this game. And what we'll learn there is we've got still a fair way to go.
When you look at how the forward line, especially when without Tex being managed, looked like more Dawson was playing more forward than Curtin to an extent. Yeah, how did you kind of see that go?
Well, in the end, when we got the game played the right way, it looked pretty strong. When Tex isn't out there, he's a leader, let alone a footballer. So we've got to, there's going to be a point where we're going to have to do that without Tex. He's getting towards the latter part of his career. So we have to look at it. At the moment, I think that being able to manage him this week hopefully really freshens him up, and we can take him over to Sydney and then have a really good crack at, probably one of the toughest road trips. So we made that decision this week. We were sort of looking at one of these. I'm glad we made it for this one, and our guys were able to get the job done.
When did you make the decision? Because there's no named it again yesterday. We all expected it. When did you actually make the decision?
Well, it wasn't until after the main session, so we wanted to see how he pulled up from the main session. We hadn't locked it in until really this morning. Just getting a look at him, then into captain's run, how's his body feeling? And in the end, it's one where, you talk about don't want to flirt with your form. We'd love to play him every week, but we know that that's not going to work because we want him at his best, and he'll need a few rests here and there, maybe another one later in the latter part of the season. We get a bye in 3 weeks, so we're hoping that works well for him.
Is there any discussion, when you have those discussions with Tex, is there any consideration going that he is so close to 300 games? He's 12 off, so you'd have to play every game of the home and away season. You obviously hope you're playing finals. Does that come into any consideration?
I'd be lying if we didn't say the word 300 came up in some of our conversations. That's natural. It's, what a milestone. It's an amazing milestone. Now, he's played 300 already. He's a life member of the AFL. and obviously a superstar of our footy club. That'd be great. I talked to him about, wouldn't it be nice if we were able to play finals footy? That's our priority at the moment. That's his priority as well. He wants this group to play finals footy, and then who knows, that might give him 300, or if he keeps going the way he is, it has been going earlier in the year, who knows where we go.
That just sets the skipper's game, obviously another strong performance by him.
Yeah, and he was instrumental too. I think in the first half, when it wasn't quite right, I think the halftime conversation, when we started getting it right, he was, one of those guys that was impacting the game in a big way. As you mentioned, he went a little bit more forward this week than maybe he had in past weeks. He's really important to us. I thought, he wasn't the only one. I thought Peatling today was back to the best stuff, some of his stuff we've seen, really hard in and under the footy. I thought Isaac Rankin, playing up around the football, I thought he was instrumental for us. Even in the first half, he had a lot of impact. We just weren't quite getting the game on our terms.
Approaching the midway point of the season, 7-4 in the top four. Are you pleased?
I'm pleased with the consistency of our game. I think there hasn't been a game yet where we really dropped off. But in saying that, each game we come out of, we know we need to be better in a couple of areas. Moments are big ones. Today's a really big one around being predictable to each other, like sticking to our game plan and understanding that it works, trusting each other. And we get great lessons along the way. Collingwood, I speak a lot about them because there's a respect there. I can see what they're doing, and they're doing it really well. Even undermanned at the moment, they're predictable, and they play a really strong brand. We're striving to get to that at the moment.
Going back to Dawson, so do you feel like, it might seem a bit strange to say that he's an All-Australian captain, do you feel like he's a bit underrated when it comes to the competition way? Like, he's really high up in the coaches, but I guess, like people like Bailey Smith, Nick Dacos, getting a lot of hype. Do you feel like he might be a bit flying under the radar sometimes?
It's a hard one for me to comment around because I'm probably not on the socials, maybe quite like you are, and so I don't know. I know he's rated highly by the industry. That shows up in the votes, when we do vote as coaches. I think we watch the game in a lot of detail, so we see a lot of, more than just what you see in the TV camera. We look at behind the goals, and he's a very well-rounded footballer, where he can play on ball, he can play behind the ball if we really had to. We haven't done that this year a lot, but I think he's a respected player amongst the league and the rest of the players, and he deserves to be spoken about with some of the best and some of the guys you mentioned.
Sam Berry, that would not be the sub. He'd had one of his better games for some time. In terms of with him, how do you kind of approach that? Because obviously players don't want to play the sub 3 weeks in a row. How do you kind of approach that with him?
It was a good result, wasn't it, off 3 subs in a row? I thought he was great today. I thought he was great. And Sid's played the sub, a number of times, and there's things he's working through, and we'll just keep doing what's best for the team. Sam's done a fantastic job when he's been the impact player for us, or the sub. And then today I thought he was great for 4 quarters of footy. So, good signs that we can add a different dynamic in and around the footy.
He's still kind of working on his forward craft, because he did kind of, when Steve came on, he did go a bit more forward. How is that what he needs to work on to get more time on the ground?
Yeah, I think like any player, having a second position or a number of positions that you can play just rounds you. I talk about Jordan Dawson, for example. It takes your game to another level. There's no doubt Sam's got the ability to play forward. He's explosive, quite powerful, but there is an art to it. When you're playing against the best defenders in the country, it comes with its challenges. But I thought today there was a couple of moments where he looked like, wow, he's going to impact. We'll just keep working on that. We won't lock him in as a midfielder.
Did you expect Kieran Strachan to be back so soon? I know he got made on the inactive list or something, and then I put up on this spot. But it's when you look at it, it's a bit of an interesting one. Given he was on inactive, now he's back playing Sandford.
I was really happy for what is one of the best human beings to get an opportunity to come and play again with his mates. So it was great to see him out there yesterday. I think he'll be better for the run, Strawny. as the group will hopefully learn a fair bit from yesterday. I thought Sturt were a very good side.
You guys found a loophole?
A loophole?
You find a loophole to be able to get him, get him back in? Well,
No, I don't think so.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.